everyone, I'm Dr. Ekta Bhushan, teaching in Indira Gandhi Institute of Physical Education and Sports Sciences, University of Delhi. In this series, we will discuss different topics associated with sports training, but today in particular, we will discuss the topic Principles of Sports Training. So, in order to double the effectiveness of your training, it is helpful to know the theories. They are called sports training principles. You don't have to learn everything all at once, but you can incorporate it into your regular exercise routine. Keep these training principles in mind for your original fitness training program. They can help you make wise exercise decisions so you can achieve your goals more quickly with less wasted effort. In this lecture, we will show you how to learn and use them. So, the principles of training should be thought of as a golden rules of making fitness training work for the individual participant. Following these golden rules will help to guarantee success and will carry athletes towards their training and performance goals. All training is aimed at creating long-term physical changes in the body system. These changes are referred to as adaptations. So let's start with our first principle, that is principle of continuity of training. So the principle of continuity of training states that training of the sports person should be continuous and regular process. It is the established fact that regular training of a sports person always leads to the better result. Hence, too long break intervals in the training should be avoided. To ensure this principle of training, following points should be taken into an account. They are: first is, sports person should be educated regarding the importance of continuity by highlighting the positive and negative effects of training. Then, the knowledge of the sports person should be extended by convincing them that all the performance factors are developed through the long process of training. Then, condition of optimum load should be created because too long and too short volume of regular training does not affect positively on the performance. In case of sick, injured person, the physician should always be consulted because in case of injury, some part of the body can be given exercise or low intensity training load may be given. Our next principle of training is principle of increasing of training load. So this principle of training load derived from the well-established fact which is exhibit the clear-cut relationships between the load and adaptation process. In this principle, coach or physical education teacher must continuously plan for new and higher demand among the sports persons so that training load can be increased to get the maximum possible benefits of the sports training. Generally, two methods, first is linear and step methods, are used to increase the load, but in special situations, combination of both linear and step method may also be used to progress the load during training. The next principle is principle of individual matter. So it is established fact that two like are not alike. So in sports training, all the sports person taking part in the training are differ in the training age, health condition, individual capacity to bear load, recovery pace, body constitution, and so many other factors. Keeping all these factors in mind, training must be formulated as per the need of an individual consideration. The next principle is principle of active participation. So, it is the fact, principle of psychology, that you can bring the horse into the water but you cannot compel the horse to drink the water. On the basis of similar principle, a player who is passively engaged in training does not analyze and evaluate thoroughly, always remain loser, because such player today depend upon the coach who never develop confidence and does not improve the capacity to improve the performance. Therefore, the coach must educate their player to activity and consciously participate in sports activity during training. Then the principle of planned and systematic training. So, it is the established fact that sports training is a scientific and pedagogical process. Therefore, to achieve the higher level of sports performance in a competition, the training must be planned in a proper system. These two principles are interrelated with each other, because a correct planning is only made if we know the proper system of sports training. In other words, training is the goal-oriented process. Hence, training should be arranged in such a way so that the main aim of sports training is achieved and performance can be improved and maintained for the long period of time. The important aspect of systematic training refers to the correct and sequential arrangements of all the training components. This will not only improve the performance but also stabilize the previous performance and create the base for the future performance. And for the proper planning and systematic training, following points should be kept in mind for the sequential arrangement, that is, general preparation, specific preparation, effective competitive exercises, tactical training and technical training. Next principle is principle of general and specific training. So, general and specific training of a sports person is equal important, because general training creates the base and specific training helps to improve the performance. As we all know that better is the base, the better will be the performance. General and specific training cannot be separate, but it is always advisable that both general and specific training should be given to a sports person. The next principle is principle of competitive and specialized training. The specialized training refers to the use of specific means and methods for the improvement of particular sports performance in a competition. It is a scientific fact that specialized training with the help of specific means and methods lead to better performance, but in true sense, when the training starts in the childhood and continue up to the age of 25 years or even more, then the specialized training does not affect much towards positive side, but sometimes it also affect the negatively because of the following, that is, specialized training is not suitable for children, high performance is achieved early and it is difficult to maintain for long time. Then high performance is achieved before the start of high performance age. High performance depend upon the total personality of sports person. Specialized training always lead to the improvement of selected systems and organs of the body, which sometimes result the inadequate of the other system. The next principle is principle of clarity. To provide the maximum possible benefit of sports training to a sports person, for the effective training, the clear picture of a technique and tactics and other aspects of performance enhancements should be given. For the implementation of this fact, following points should be kept in mind, and they are: language must be clear and correct, teaching aids like blackboard, photo, illustration, video film graph, etc. should be used. Various sense organs should be stressed, example drum beating. Constantly inform the quality of movement. Information should be given as per the age, gender and experience. The next principle of cyclicity. So the training plan is formulated as per the availability of the time for training. The training can be planned in 3 different forms of cycles. The first one is macro cycle, and the duration of micro cycle is 3 to 12 months. The next one is mesocycle, and the duration of mesocycle is 3 to 6 weeks, or it is also called as a monthly cycle. Then the smallest one is microcycle, and the duration of microcycle is 5 to 10 days, also called as weekly plan. Then principle of ensuring results. So the main aim of sports training is to achieve the highest possible performance in a competition. In this regard, training should be formulated in such a way that ultimate aim of sports training is ensured by attaining the result in a competition. Then the principle of critical training load. Now, to meet complete the higher demand of competition in unforeseen situations, the training load should be administered more than the general load. This administered of critical load should be given 4 to 5 times in a year. Then principle of adaptability. So for the effective use of training, the adaptation process should take place. To ensure the adaptability, the training load should be followed by a measured period of the recovery. The optimum adaptation is possible when there is proper proportion between the load and the recovery. The next principle is principle of uniformity and differentiations. To achieve the best possible result, the training should be formulated uniformly but allowing the individual difference. The uniformly also means the similar principle of training like time and duration of the activity. Similarly, the load may vary as per the capacity of an individual. The next principle is principle of awareness. So, the sports person should educate in such a way so that they can aware about the importance of training and competition demand from time to time. The sports person should also aware by creativity so that they can actively participate in the training. The next principle is principle of visual presentation. So visual presentation in the training means that one should present the total task in brief so that every player become familiar, aware about the demand made on them. In this principle of sports training, sports person are taught to observe, watch carefully so that they can make maximum use of their sense organs. The main aim of visual presentations, demonstrations to improve the observation power of the sports person, which help in skills learning. Following points are to be considered in the visual presentations. The first one is correct mental picture of movement sequence is to be given. Information should be provided through visual aids. Different kind of aids should be used. Selection of aids should be done on the basis of functions, aims and features of training task. Visual aids may also be used for teaching purpose. The next principle is principle of feasibility. So this principle is based on the fact that man develops from being active, and that develop is released by performance. According to this principle, training of the sports person should be done in optimum form so that maximum benefits of training can be taken. Too little and too much training should be avoided. For the effective use of this principle, following points should be kept in mind. The first one is observe the needs of sports person, create the demand among sportsmen individually and develop the bearing capacity. Consider the age and gender of sports person. The next principle is principle of regulation of training. So sports training is a goal-oriented process by preparing sports person for the higher performance as per the need and requirement of the competition. The regularity process of training helps the coaches to assess the performance of the player at any moment. For effective regulation of training, few points should be kept in mind. And they are: training plan should include aim, sub-aim, load, means and methods, etc. Training document should maintain information regarding level of competition and rate of improvement. Now we have come to conclusion. So in conclusion, I would like to say that training means exercising regularly to improve skills and fitness. The training that an athlete must be appropriate for that person and their sport in order to get the most out of their training. The principles of training should be thought of as the golden rules of making fitness training work for the individual participant. Following these golden rules will help to guaranteed success and will carry athletes toward their training and performance goals. All training is aimed at creating long-term physical changes in the body system. These changes are referred to as an adaptation. So we can also revise all the principles of training, and let's recall all the principles. The first principle of training is principle of continuity of training. Then the second principle of training is principle of increasing of training load. The third principle is principle of individual matter. The fourth principle is principle of active participation. Then fifth principle is principle of planned and systematic training. The sixth principle is principle of general and specific training. Seventh principle is principle of competitive and specialized training. Then the eighth principle is principle of clarity. Then the ninth principle is principle of cyclicity. Then 10th principle is principle of ensuring result. 11th principle is principle of critical training load. Then 12th principle is principle of adaptability. The next principle is principle of uniformity and differentiation. Then 14th principle is principle of awareness. Then 15th principle is principle of visual presentation. Then the 16th principle is principle of feasibility. Then 17th principle is principle of regulation of training. So these were all the principles of training. I hope you understood about all the principles of sports training, and that's all for today. See you next time. Thank you.